Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal. Arsenal are back in for Victor Osimhen. Yes, he had that right. Napoli have actually reduced his asking price from 130 million euros to 100 million euros, which is just 85 million pounds. We'll be discussing that. Nottingham Forest are close to signing Nketiah for could be above 30 million pounds in terms of the package, and that would be a great deal because just a couple of weeks ago, Marseille were offering us 23 million pounds, and a lot of Arsenal fans are like, yes, take that, take that. No, we could actually get a package of more than 30 million, which would be absolutely amazing. Also, leads on Mikel Merino, Charlie Patino as well. Charlie Patino has officially left Arsenal, and we'll be discussing that as well. So let's start with the big news from reports for Victor Osimhen, or in terms of Victor Osimhen. So this is what is being reported. Arsenal have returned for Victor Osimhen. Napoli are now asking for a fee close to 100 million euros for the striker. Arsenal could reach those figures. So listen, Osimhen, we thought it was out for sure. We thought it was done. We thought this deal was absolutely done. But I've always had something in the back of my mind telling me we still are going to get a striker, but I don't know who. Maybe they're just planning for someone else. Maybe it's not going to be Gyökeres. Maybe it's not going to be, Osimhen. Maybe they have a plan. So I'm just usually holding on to that hope at Edwin to have something planned for the end of the transfer window to just, boost Arsenal fans' confidence at the end of the transfer window. But looks like Osimhen is back on the radar. And recently as well, we've been hearing talks of him potentially joining Chelsea because they want to swap Lukaku and Osimhen and, add some money there, whatever. So it was pointing out to him joining Chelsea because I don't think we have anything to offer Napoli. Napoli have something they want from Chelsea. Conte wants Lukaku, doesn't really want anyone from Arsenal at the moment. So that is that basically attracts more for them in terms of dealing with Chelsea more than Arsenal. So I've always thought maybe it's going to end up at Chelsea. But that one has not happened. That has not yet happened. And Arsenal are back in for Victor Osimhen. And let's go to this first before I give you guys my thoughts. Arsenal are back on the trail of Victor Osimhen. Napoli had started with the intention of demanding his 130 million release clause to be paid in full, but are now evaluating the idea of accepting offers of at least 100 million euros. Again, with Osimhen and Gyökeres, I've always thought no one is going to pay that money for them. 130 million euros, it's a lot of money. That is one of the reasons why Osimhen is still at Napoli and not at PSG and not at Chelsea and not at Arsenal or any other team. No one is going to pay 130 million euros. That is a lot of money. Now, is he a good striker? He's an incredible striker. He's proved himself in Italy. He's led Napoli to a Scudetto a couple of years ago. He's played his football in France before for Lille. He's done well. He's played his football in Germany before. He's played at tournaments for Nigeria. So he's proved himself. He's a very, very good striker. But for 130 million euros, that is a lot of money to spend on one player. It's a lot of money. We've seen a lot of players going for that recently, yes, the likes of Declan Rice, 100 million, Enzo Fernandez and that. But there's a lot of factors why he's not going to go for that 130 million euros. The fact that they want to sell him, so teams are like, actually, they're desperate to sell him. Why should we pay that 130 million euros? Let's just wait. The fact that he's had a couple of injuries here and there, the attitude thing and all that, there's a lot of reasons why people wouldn't pay that 130 million euros. So for them to sell him, they'll have to drop that price. And it looks like they've taken it down to 100 million euros, or they're willing to take it down to 100 million euros. Because if Victor Osimhen was 80 million pounds from the beginning of the transfer window, he'd already have gone by now. He'd not be at Napoli right now. The only reason he's there right now is because of that money. The reason why people are not willing to pay that is also because of his wages, like paying 130 million euros and then he end up paying like 250,000 in terms of wages. That's a lot of money to part away with that. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. So if his price is a little bit cheaper, you can be willing to pay his wages, knowing that this is a player who's going to make a difference and is going to probably take it to the title in our scenario. In our case, we know we want to strike in this team. The chances that we create these days, the number of chances we create, it's a lot, like every single game, and we could easily give a striker like Osimhen 4 to 5 chances per game. Now, the way he plays, like between Gyökeres and Osimhen, I prefer Gyökeres because of our playing style. But if it comes down to Osimhen, I'll 100% take him because he's a striker who 2 years ago he was wanted by United, Man City, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, PSG. I was even thinking at some point if Mbappe didn't go to Real Madrid, it could be Victor Osimhen, because he's a striker who can get you goals and he's an experienced striker and he's won things before. So why not? And getting Osimhen, if you end up getting someone like an Osimhen, that would send a message to other teams. You know, the way Man City have gotten back Gundogan and every other team is like, oh, they've gotten back Gundogan. This is a guy who's already won them a couple of Premier League titles. If you get Osimhen, that would send a message to Man City and every other team like, yeah, Arsenal is serious now. Arsenal have signed Calafiori, they've signed Merino, and they've signed Osimhen. That would be a crazy transfer window. That would be a very, very good transfer window. That would be close to a 10 out of 10 transfer window, if not a 10 out of 10. It would be very, very close to a 10 out of 10, because one thing we've not really done is signing a striker over the last 3-4 years. I always say, last season, the last 2 seasons, I never really wanted a striker. I was like, this Arsenal team is very good. We can score goals. And the last 2 seasons, we've improved in terms of the number of goals we scored. And right now, would I say Arsenal are desperate for a striker? I still wouldn't use the word desperate. But do I want us to get a striker? Absolutely yes. Why? The reason I always give is it's because you're competing with Man City, and it's because that is the only position that I feel like we can take to the next level. If Man City are not in this league, I don't think we'd needed someone like an Osimhen. I think we'd have won the league 3-4 times in a row with the players that we have. But the fact that Man City are now in this Premier League, and the fact that we are now competing with a team that has Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo, and competing with Bayern, with Olise and Kane, and competing with Man City in the Champions League, you need players like Osimhen to take it to the next level. So I do agree that Arsenal need a striker like this to take us to the next level. And also, all the other positions that we look at, Saliba, perfect for us, Gabriel, perfect, Odegaard, like we have, congratulations to them, by the way. I never got to say congratulations to these 5 players who were named in the PFA Team of the Year. Look at this. We have a goalkeeper there. We have 2 defenders there. We have 2 midfielders there. Which position don't we have there? A striker. So imagine if Osimhen came to us and scored 30 goals, we'd have 6 to 7 players there with Saka and maybe Havertz and Osimhen. That would be great. So ironically, the only position we don't have there is a striker, because we don't really have an out-and-out striker who scores goals. Havertz has done really, really well for Arsenal. I think he's improved the team. He scores and assists every single game. I usually tell people, you can say you want a striker without saying, Havertz or Jesus is terrible. You can say you want someone without kicking someone else's name. We don't have to do that. So we have to add to that. Now, imagine you have Osimhen, and then you have Havertz, and then you have Jesus, and then you have Saka, and then you have Martinelli and Trossard. That would be great. That is what you need to do. You need to take it to the next level. Man City have Haaland. We don't really have anyone like Haaland. I think we have a better defense than Man City. Midfield, Rodri, Rice are always compared. Odegaard, obviously De Bruyne has done it for a longer time, but Odegaard is really, really good for us in that position. Over the last couple of years, you can argue Odegaard has been better than De Bruyne. The number 8 position, if Rice is there, Partey, wherever, is playing in the 6 and Rice is playing in number 8, we can say Rice is younger than Kovacic. He can do it better than Kovacic. Saka, we can is always compared to Foden. The only position where you can't really compare to Man City is Haaland, because you don't really have anyone who can score 30, 40 goals in a season, but they do. So it would be great to have someone like an Osimhen, and it would send a message to a team like Man City that Arsenal have bought Osimhen, and they've also added to Calafiori. They already have the best defense in the world, and now they have an attacking line of Odegaard, Trossard, Osimhen, Saka, and they can bring off the bench Martinelli or Trossard or Havertz. So Vieira, that would be a very, very, very good team. And another thing Osimhen does to this team, if you have Osimhen there, it boosts the likes of Saka and Odegaard. Odegaard knows if they create 100 plus chances once again, Osimhen is there to finish them. Takes a bit of pressure away from the likes of Saka and Trossard. If they don't score, they know we have Osimhen there. If Havertz doesn't score, he knows we have Osimhen there. It boosts the whole team. So let's see how that one goes. It's great to know that we are back in for him. He is still available. Chelsea are still there. They want Lukaku from Chelsea, but I don't know if that is going to go through, unfortunately, or fortunately for us. Hopefully that doesn't go through and we can end up with a player like this. That would be great. But we still need to do some other deals, still need to get some other deals done. One of the deals that could help us get Osimhen is the sale of Nketiah, and it seems like it's edging closer, which is great news for us. According to Passy of the Telegraph, Nottingham Forest are close to securing a 30 million deal for Nketiah. There's been a breakthrough in talk, so that is great news for us. I've read somewhere that it could actually be a 32 million package, which would be great. That extra 9 million can help us. That is why I did not agree with people saying just sell him for 23 million. I was always convinced teams are going to come in for him. Other teams are going to try and sign him. Never been worried about that. Other teams are going to come in for him. Even if Nottingham Forest don't sign him, I'm expecting a couple of other teams to be interested in him. But I think this one is going to go through. We have been told that Nottingham Forest are close to securing the 30 million signing of Nketiah. After the owner, Marinakis, held extensive talks with Ed over the past 48 hours. So the owner of Nottingham Forest is also the owner of Olympiacos. He's held talks with Edu, and they've edged closer. I've already seen Nottingham Forest fans already trying to fit Nketiah into their team. So it is going to go through. The fact that his executive box was cleared out of the Emirates, I don't think you're going to bring things back to the executive box and then bring him back to the team. I think this one is done. I think Nketiah has left. I didn't want it to get to this point where people are like, hating him and, chasing him away. I didn't want it to get to that point. You already knew you're going to arrive to this point. 3 years ago, the players would have done the job for us are different from now. Now, yes, maybe giving the new contract with 100 plus thousand was a mistake. But at that time, as I always say, at that time, we were different. You weren't really competing for the title, you were just happy to have Nketiah on the bench, and he'd come on and score 2 goals against Chelsea, and you'd be very happy. And then Nelson would come in and have 2-3 good games. He'd be happy with that. Signing Lokonga and Tavares was great for us, enough for us. But right now, in 2 years, we've gone to a different level where we are looking at players like Nketiah and like, yeah, you can score goals, but you're not in the level of Arsenal. Unfortunately, that is how it is. I don't think he's a bad player completely. I don't think he'd go to a Nottingham Forest and completely flop. No, I think he'll go there and score goals for them. But for what we want right now and the levels you're going to, we all know that he's going to move on. The player himself, I'm sure, knows that Arsenal have moved on from him. And the coach himself knows, yeah, that was 3 years ago and I gave him a new contract. Now it's different. Now I'm competing with Man City. Now I'm trying to beat Bayern Munich in the quarterfinal and go to the semi-final. I need to go to the next level. And these players that we had 6-7 years ago are not the players that are going to do that for us. So I think it's already agreed. I think it's going to deliver Arsenal. And then if you get that 30 million plus the 34 million that you've gotten for Smith Rowe, 64 million from those two, I think that is good business. I think that is very good business considering none of them has really featured regularly for our team the last 2-3 years. Smith Rowe has barely started, and Nketiah at the end of last season, he barely started. Like, another thing is the fact that he wasn't really brought on in games that you're trying to win the league, like against Brentford at the end of last season, against Everton on the final day. We were even bringing in Smith Rowe and not bringing Nketiah. And the fact that he came on in a Bayern Munich game and fans started to boo and started to laugh, it's gotten to a stage where it's not healthy, so it's just better for him to move on. So wishing him all the best. Let's see how it goes. I wish him all the best at Nottingham Forest. Did I go through this one? Yeah, Ben Jacobs as well added that 30 million fee is the region we are going to work with. Mikel Merino, what's the latest on him? Now, he's not been training with the team. It's also that Mikel Merino has been training separately from the Real Sociedad squad as he edges closer to a move to Arsenal. Football London understands it is understood that personal terms have been agreed, while the two clubs are close to agreeing a fee. That is according to Kaya Kainak of Football London. He says that he's not been training with the team, so this deal is getting closer. He already reported earlier today that the president of Sociedad is in London to finalize this Mikel Merino deal. It has taken longer than you wanted it to, but looks like you're going to finally get it done. I'm now edging closer to how I was with Calafiori. It feels like now I'm already counting him as an Arsenal player, despite him not signing yet. I think it's getting closer. And there's people who argue that, listen, it's now 35 million euros plus 5 million in euros. Why should we go for him? It was supposed to be 25 million euros. Let's try and get another midfielder. I don't agree with that, because this is a player who really, really wanted to join Arsenal. I usually look at that. I'm sure you do, and I look at that as well. He's a player who decided to join Arsenal instead of staying at Sociedad like Zubimendi, instead of going to Atletico Madrid like Lenormand, instead of going to Barcelona. He said, no, I want to move to Arsenal. He's already agreed personal terms. And he's going to add experience. He's going to bring that aerial duels and ground duels one. He was the best in terms of that. in the top 5 European leagues last season. I think he would add something to the team, experience. He can play a couple of positions in that midfield. He's a Euros winner who's joining Arsenal now. 28 years of age, 35 million euros plus 5 million in euros in add-ons. If we can give us 3 good years, I think that is great. I don't know how much wages is going to be on, but I think it's going to help us in those 3 years. Hopefully, it does help us in that 3 years. He's bang on his prime, the prime of his career, 28 years of age. So I wouldn't like back out of this deal to try and get someone else. No, I wouldn't do that. So for me, get him for that money. I don't mind it. I mean, there's other players who are going for 40, 45 million euros who have never really played. So I think it's great to get him. I don't think you can start trying getting another midfielder right now. I agree the personal terms all over again. Nah, and he's a player who's played with Odegaard before, he's already talked to WhatsApp before. He's played with David Raya and all that. So it's great. Let's see this partnership one more time. I think it would be great. And it's going to add to our midfield with Partey and Jorginho and those guys. It's going to be a really, really good midfield. Goalkeeper, Juan Garcia, talked about him earlier. Fabrizio says that he's patiently waiting to find a solution for Aaron Ramsdale as personal terms are agreed. So the moment he's patiently waiting for Arsenal to find a solution for Aaron Ramsdale. So after we sell Ramsdale or loan him out or whatever, we are going to get Juan Garcia. I think we already have a backup goalkeeper there if Ramsdale does leave. And then lastly, Charlie Patino. Now, Charlie Patino, remember, is one of the players that we are really, really now having a lot of confidence in. But according to Ryan Taylor Sport and a lot of other reporters, Deportivo La Coruña have agreed a deal worth in the region of 1 million. 1 million. One what? 1 million to sign Charlie Patino on a permanent transfer from Arsenal. The deal also includes a sell-on clause. Hopefully, the sell-on clause is like 50% or something. So if they come to sell him for 20 million euros in the future, we can get 10 million from that. But I don't know what happened with the Charlie Patino deal. It's a weird one because 3 years ago, this guy played for the under 18s when he was 14 years of age, and he was really good. And people are talking about him being the next, the next Fabregas, the next Jack Wilshere. Came on in a League Cup game and he scored, as you can see there. And people had high expectations for him. He moved on to Blackpool, did well, but I think he picked up an injury at Blackpool, and then last season he was at Swansea on loan. Didn't really work out, didn't really start any games for Swansea in the first half of the season. Some were arguing that they thought he was not good enough and all that. Now, what I'm hearing is Arsenal had planned for him to go out on loan so that he can, boost his physical appearance and physicality on the pitch. But they said like he's not grown physically the way they thought he would. They're saying that he's even smaller, tinier than Fabio Vieira in terms of stature. So that could be a right, and they're saying that he's not going to really fit in the Premier League. Now, we never really gave him a chance to see that. That is true, but that is what is being mentioned, that they've lost confidence in him growing in terms of stature, and they don't think he's going to fit the Premier League. Now, that could be true. That could be true for sure. Now, you can also say that he didn't perform well, maybe for Blackpool or Swansea. Those teams did not ask to sign him. You can argue that. You can argue that he's gone to Deportivo, the second division team. He's not really gone to, a bigger team, another bigger team that wanted him. Hopefully that is the case, because you could also go the second way, where he turns out to be a very, very good player like Gnabry and we end up regretting it. It could be either of the two. So 1 million, though, sounds very, very little, especially for a player who had big expectations. Like, we were thinking this is going to be the next guy with Saka and those guys in the team. Selling him for 1 million to a Segunda Division team, I don't know what went wrong with that. We'll definitely look more into the Charlie Patino, but that's another youngster who's left Arsenal. He didn't really get any opportunities also in the USA. 22's pointing out to him leaving. And I've also heard that he did want to leave, so he didn't want to sign a new contract. Maybe that would have been better. Give him a new contract, send him out on loan again, maybe gamble on him doing well, and then we get at least 15 million for him. But that is not the case. But let me know what you make of all that. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next